Oval tracks mean tight racing with lots of traffic and plenty of passing opportunities. In '99 at Gateway, nearly 1/3 of the field led, and the margin of victory was 0.3 of a second.
Oval track racing is demanding. The drivers must be in excellent physical condition because every time they turn the steering wheel here at Gateway, they'll experience over 3.5 Gs. But it's the mental game that's so important. The smallest lap of concentration, and the drivers could find themselves in the fence. And then there's luck. There are so many things that can happen outside the driver's control that it makes predicting today's winner virtually impossible. The championship's up for grabs. Some will be conservative, some will go for it. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Ready for the running of the CART FedEx Championship Series and the Motorola 300. Let's take a look at how they qualified here. Juan Montoya, two-time winner on ovals this year, leading 56% of all oval laps. He's completed. He's the pole sitter. His teammate Jimmy Vasser is alongside. Paul Tracy is on the inside of row 2, and his teammate Dario Franchitti is outside. Franchitti, a 6-time winner in CART. He's still searching for his first oval win. In the third row, Patrick Carpentier to the inside and Tony Kanaan outside. Carpentier survived this wild ride at Laguna Seca and finished 9th. In row 4, Adrian Fernandez and rookie Alex Tagliani to the outside. The fifth row, Elio Castro Neves, our most recent winner, and Cristiano D'Amata. Sophomore D'Amata won CART's last oval race. That was on the 1-mile track in Chicago. In the sixth row, it's Roberto Moreno and Kenny Breck. Now, Breck could wrap up the Rookie of the Year honors today, but his eyes are set on the CART Championship. The seventh row, the points leader in the championship, Dill DeFerrin. Max Pappas is to the outside. The eighth row, second in the points, and the defending champion, Michael Andretti. Alex Barron is outside of 8. The ninth row, Christian Fittipaldi and Oriol Servia. Row 10, Memo Gidley and Mark Blundell. The 11th row consists of Michel Jourdain Jr. and Shinji Nakano. And the 11th row, Tarso Marquez and the Swift. Mauricio Guzman is outside. Both Guzman and Garcia Jr. are starting with no time. Guzman's car was disqualified as being underweight. And then this morning in the warm-up, Garcia Jr. and Memo Gidley got together in turn 3. Cars were badly damaged, but the good news is both were pronounced fit and are now ready to go racing. The championship is on the line. Who will it be? This race, as Parker Johnstone said, could very well set the stage for the run to the crown. We'll be right back. Has just begun to roll for today's running of the Motorola 300 from the Gateway International Raceway of the CART FedEx Championship Series. Several reports have confirmed that Bobby Rahal, who is the interim president and CEO of CART, will go to Formula One next year to run Jaguar's operation. The announcement is expected to be made while F1 visits the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this week. Rahal insists he will keep his 2-car team in the series and oversee CART through the end of the season.
I've always maintained this was an interim position, and that's not changed. My commitment is to this series for some time to come, you know, certainly through the end of the season, and because we're in the process of doing a lot of things. So I don't see things changing from that front. And what, for me personally, the future holds, aside from all that, probably will become a little bit clearer within the next week or so.
It's certainly a great opportunity for him, and it's a great opportunity for the sport. And I don't think it puts CART in any bad position immediately or anything like that. I mean, I think we all knew when he came into the job that, you know, it was an interim basis, and we were happy with that, and he's done a great job.
And while it did create some anger and frustration, another CART owner, Bruce McCaw, said it really complimentary to see that the Formula One Series is looking to CART to get some help. Well, here we are, 1.27 miles, 236 laps, 300 miles the total distance.
And we expect a minimum of 3, if not 4 pit stops. But look, if there's an early yellow, I think everyone will dive into the pits. Once again, fuel strategy may be everything at the conclusion of today's event.
Onboard cameras, Guzman qualified much better than that, but he had that problem with being underweight when they checked the car. Here is Mark Blundell. And, of course, up at the front of the field. You're going to have a great view from the front row. And the Target Chip Ganassi cars. This one, of course, is Jimmy Vasser. Gary Gerald.
6th time this year for Juan Montoya to start from the #1 spot, Paul. But the key for him is to finish the race. 10 times this year he's not been around at the checkered flag. They think they're overdue. And considering that he's won on the ovals at Michigan and Milwaukee, he can be very strong. First time Target's had the entire front row in over 4 years. 96 Mid-Ohio last time.
Now the field forms up. There has been some concern as you look at them on the backstretch about the starts the last couple of weeks, but they've got all the room in the world to make this a nice, clean start. Pace car is already pulled way down. The field in control of the pole sitter. Juan Montoya brings them off, nicely bunched together. The starter takes a look, and here we go. The green flag is out. Montoya crosses the line first. Vasser drops inside to go in behind him. Moves to the inside. Everybody else tries to line it up nice and neat. Back through turn 3. Bit of a bump there. It's throwing a few guys completely off the course.
You can see Kanaan on the outside. That entire first lap finally got around Carpentier. Patrick now looking for a way back around. We could also see D'Amato was on the outside of Fernandez, and he's slotted. Or D'Amato was on the outside of Fernandez. He's now slotted behind Adrian on that opening lap.
Now look at that side-by-side battle back in the field. Roberto Moreno and Elio Castroneves. Here they come going into 3. And there comes Mikey as well.
Michael already up from 15th to 13th on that opening lap.
Kanaan looks inside. Can't see room alongside of Franchitti. Drops back. Michael Andretti doing what he does so very well, working his way through traffic early on.
Yeah, Castroneves has fallen back now to 13th place. Michael Andretti got around him as well on that next lap as it's now up to 12th place.
Michael took a peek to the outside of Moreno. Drops back in.
Go up 2 on boost, Mike. Up 2 on boost.
And there's 11th position now.
I'm assuming if they're saying going up, that they are also saying that is more power.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. That's exactly what they're trying to tell Michael, is that they check with the telemetry what the boost is, and by clicking a button on the steering wheel, he can try and get a bit more out of it before the pop-off valve would open.
Both of the Penske cars are caught back 13th and 14th. Here's the leader, Montoya, pulling away slightly from his own teammate, Jimmy Vasser. Then Tracy, then Franchitti and Kanaan.
Remember the last time we saw such an easy run on the opening laps was at Chicago. I talked to Juan earlier, and he said, yeah, Chicago was easy. I wasn't even using the brakes, just feathering the throttle, getting great mileage. The car was perfect. And look at the lead he's starting to pull out over Jimmy Vasser. He might be doing exactly that today, being able to run quicker than anyone else in the field while getting extraordinary fuel mileage.
And Chip Ganassi is already telling Montoya that he is getting great mileage. Even in these opening laps, they're talking fuel and what kind of mileage they're getting.
Yeah, but perhaps the thing to remember with Montoya is, despite the fact that he has led more than twice the number of laps of anyone else in the series, he's 11th in the championship. That owing to an unprecedented number of DNFs for the Target Chip Ganassi team and Montoya this year. Paul Tracy back at 3rd place. Team Green came to the track unloaded, and it seemed like they couldn't even begin to find a setup on the car. Then somewhere over Friday night, they were able to figure it out and qualified both cars into the 2nd row. We'll see how speeds are doing when they cross the line.
Well, and Paul Tracy said he really never got an opportunity to show the true speed of his car because of traffic and some of the things they were working on, and that he thought his car was pretty good. He just didn't know how good until qualifying. Dario, on the other hand, said that they were completely lost, and they threw everything they had at the car going into qualifying, and they came up with a setup that worked well for 1 lap during qualifying. But having the car work well, as the fuel burns down, the tires start to wear, it's getting hotter, that is a whole different story.
You're watching Paul Tracy for a moment there. He is 3rd quick. And Jan Pikus, you're keeping track of him.
Yes, in fact, I spoke with Kim Green this morning, and when they were talking about qualifying yesterday, they said that the track came to them. In other words, when the track temperature came up, they feel they run better when it's hotter. Right now, the track temperature is 118 degrees, so if it gets hotter, as it should, that'll actually help Team Green.
Well, there are no clouds for thousands of miles. We're sitting right under that high pressure that's dominating the Midwest and keeping beautiful clear skies. We watched Team Penske, Castroneves, then DeFerrin lined up behind Roberto Moreno. Castroneves 13th, DeFerrin 14th.
Montoya now has pulled out a 9/10 of a second lead, and we just heard over the radios that he's actually getting a 1/10 of a mile better mileage than Jimmy Vasser.
Montoya, then Vasser, then Tracy. That's the front three. There they are on the upper left-hand corner of the screen with 11 laps now complete. And fuel, of course, ever so important, not because there's not enough, but because if you want to win in this category of racing, you have to run that tank absolutely dry on each pit stop, or you're going to end up with an extra pit stop, and the 18-20 seconds that means on the race course to you, that means your day is over.
Yeah, when I say 1/10 of a gallon, people say, well, that's not that much, but consider that that could be 2.5 laps if they run a full fuel load without a yellow flag. And in that 2.5 laps, you could pick up a yellow. Certainly, track position is so valuable here. It makes a significant difference. You multiply that over the course of 3 stops or the 300 miles that we're running here today. That's 6, 7, 8, 9 laps by race's end.
Now you see there that Joe DeFerrin was able to get around his teammate Helio Castroneves and move into 13th. Now moves in pursuit of Roberto Moreno. Here's Michael. Comes up behind the rookie Tagliani. He's just ahead of Roberto Moreno and that battle. Jan, what's up with Andretti?
Well, I spoke with his engineer just before the race, Peter Gibbons, and said, you guys have that miracle set up again? He says, well, I'll let you know at about lap 50. And that's because they are tuning the car for the longer runs. But right now, it looks like it seems to be working.
Alex Tagliani got lost somewhere on the start and has dropped from 8th back to 10th. And when we see Tagliani again, you may want to take a look at the nose of the car because they're carrying a very interesting aerodynamic package on that car. Franchitti and Kanaan have been battling here. There they are. Franchitti in front. There's Tony Kanaan with Carpentier closing from behind.
Look at Tony Kanaan looking down the inside, looking for clear air, drafting up behind Dario. This car has been very, very fast through the segment times in the corner speeds. They're a little bit slow down the straightaways, but we saw Tony very aggressive on the opening laps. And there you can see, once again, tucking inside on the exit, looking for clean air.
We mentioned Michael Andretti on the move. Let's also mention Mimo Gidley. Started 19th, now 16th. And, of course, in the backup car because the car he had qualified was badly damaged. Right side almost totally gone after the impact with the wall between turn 3 and 4 in morning warm-up.
And look how different the lines are for Dario and for Tony. You can see it on the way in, but watch coming off the corner. You can see Tony stays at least a half a car width to the inside. Coming down these 1,800-foot straightaways, he tucks in right behind, trying to take advantage of the draft. But you can see on the entry, he's got to go down low early. You can see Dario's left side wheels about a half a car width up from the line. Tony right on the line, trying to get advantage of clean air down low and then utilize the draft down the straightaways.
Well, when you talk about the draft here, you're also talking some turbulence.
Well, you are, and that's a problem. You want the draft down the straightaways where the turbulence doesn't affect the handling of the car, but through the corners, you want to have as much clean air on the car as possible. Otherwise, you reduce a significant amount of downforce on the car and makes holding on to these cars very, very difficult.
Montoya steadily pulling away from his teammate Jimmy Vasser. Now 1.2 seconds. Tony Kanaan up into position. Can he use it now? He darts out. And no, as soon as he darts out into open air, then it becomes a problem for him.
And you can see Dario checking his mirror that last shot that we had, looking down the left side to see where Tony was. Now, Dario, if he could, would keep down to the inside to keep the air off of Tony's car. But what happens when the driver's usually driving a little higher line, that means the car's a little neutral to loose. They can't pull the car right down to the inside without the back end stepping out. If the car's down low, that usually means the car's got a bit of an understeer. But you can see Dario looking down that left side as they enter the corner to see what kind of interval he has back to Tony Kanaan.
Luis Garcia Jr. came into the pits about 10 laps ago. They've been working on the car and now apparently have decided whatever it is not fixable and are pushing the car back to the paddock area. So that'll be our first official out of the day when it's finally registered with CART officials and they let them know what was wrong with the machine. Montoya. Now Vasser closes. Traffic is beginning to become a factor. On board with Jimmy. Jimmy Vasser closed another couple of hundredths is all, but he is nibbling away at the back of Juan Montoya as they begin to encounter traffic. The two Toyotas are leading, followed by the two Hondas, a Mercedes, and a Ford. We're 20 laps into the run. The Motorola 300 at Gateway International. Good look back to the first lap of this race. Back at the Motorola 300, Montoya is now up behind Tarso Marquez, trying to put him a lap down. But in the last couple of laps, something has happened with that car. And Jimmy Vasser is right there. And watch Montoya. This is a rather desperate drive now.
Well, we saw from Jimmy's onboard camera while we were away at this shot, the back of Montoya's car dancing all over the track. He came over the radio and said, yeah, the car's just gone loose. And I don't mean to tell you that it was loose. It was way loose. And now you can see Montoya trying to work the high groove on Tarso Marquez. Jimmy gets a better exit there, but obviously the handling has changed and changed quickly on Juan's car.
Also, Shinji Nakano came in for pit service while we were away. But this is the key battle. Montoya trying there. Oh, look at him lose it again. You can see the car snap
coming off the last corner there. Jimmy right up behind him. Any other driver I know, Paul,
Jimmy makes his
pits.
move. Jimmy comes to the inside. Montoya's still going to contest him. They go side by side. They come off of two that way. Montoya still has the position.
How does that guy do that? Anybody I know, look at the back of the car moving around, would be into the pits going, we got a problem.
Jimmy almost catches the back end of Montoya's car as he moves out as Montoya gets caught up behind Tarso Marquez. And finally, Jimmy is able to make the move, but still has to drop back into position. He came out wide, went low. He tries it again. This time it looked like Montoya was going to let him go and then decided to come back at him. But Jimmy Vasser picks up the lead.
There is just no way in the world that I know anybody that would still be out on the circuit right now, let alone trying to pass back for the lead on the outside. I'd love to see a steering trace of Juan Montoya's car over the last few laps. He's been opposite lock for most of it.
So Montoya drops back to second place. While now Jimmy Vasser has to handle up Marquez. Canan now trying to make some work on Tracy.
And the other driver that looks like he's in trouble is Dario Franchitti, who's now slid back to ninth. Remember, only a few laps ago, Tony was working on the back of Dario. This is the point in the race, because a lot of these teams haven't done long fuel runs where the heat, the wear on the tires, the shift in the fuel load as they're burning fuel dramatically changes these cars. They almost always go loose, and when you go loose on an oval, it's a very frightening proposition.
Looking back for that green and white car, Franchitti and Moreno and Servia both get under him, and now Servia is going to try to get Moreno, and he doesn't. So Franchitti, he's working with a fairly serious problem. Look how high he is as he's dropped all the way back to 15th now.
And that's what I was talking about earlier when Tony was working on him, is that he was on the high groove everywhere, which usually is an indication of a loose car. And you can see even down now in 1 and 2 where everybody drives low, Dario's up high, just trying to keep the back end of that car where it belongs.
So Jimmy Vasser, who is enjoying now the last couple of rides for Target Chip Ganassi, they both, Vasser and Chip Ganassi, have announced that Jimmy will not be involved in the team next year. And so to some degree, these are show-off runs for Jimmy as he tries to find a seat somewhere else in the field, and surely someone will pick him up. But a victory here will help Jimmy. But it isn't going to do a whole lot for those championship contenders who really need the points up there at the front.
And right now, of our top 6 guys,
report that Dario Franchitti now is going to head for the pits.
Yes, he is on his way, Paul, and it just turns out that his car went incredibly loose. So not just Montoya, but Franchitti. So the crew has decided to bring him here on pit road. They are going to service him, and of course they'll try and make a major adjustment to try and get this car back where they want it to be.
Tracy took a look there at Montoya. They've got, again, traffic ahead. That's the game anytime you're playing on the ovals.
And see, Dario did what any experienced driver would do, which is to come in. And look at Montoya still fighting with Jimmy. Oh, you can see his car wash out high because of the aerodynamic turbulence. Montoya's car, I can guarantee you, is incredibly loose. What makes him such an exceptional driver, he's still out on the track, still fighting for the lead.
He's going to do that again, and Tracy's going to grab it away from him. That's Alex Barron that Vasser just came around. Now Montoya works around Barron. There's Montoya. Look at that group behind him, though.
And Tony Canan doing a
Tony got caught
fantastic
out.
job, though. Look at him trying to push underneath Barron here. He's doing everything he can. There's Carpentier on the high side. Takes advantage of it.
The Honda Helicam. And Fernandez makes his move on Kanaan.
Yeah, Tony just got hosed in traffic, and now he's lost momentum.
Look at Brick. Here comes Kenny Brick. Brick moves to the outside. They're all working around Alex Barron, and Brick's looking for any place he can find.
And that shows you how quickly things change on an oval. Tony was then fighting for 4th place and suddenly finds himself falling back to 8th now.
Look there a little deeper. There comes Mikey. Michael Andretti making his move as he's looking for racing room. And he joins that pack.
And that was close. We nearly saw Cristiano Mata's left front collide with the rear end of Alex Barron. And they're all stacking up behind Barron now coming off the 2nd corner.
DeFerrin comes around. Castro Neves comes around. Kanaan must have some sort of a problem. He's getting stuck up high and falling steadily backwards. That's Alex Tagliani, the blue and white car, just behind him. DeFerrin comes off alongside of Barron.
Well, look at Max Pappas now down the inside of Moreno.
Pappas makes his move. Oh, very close for Servia and Moreno. As Pappas comes to the inside, they're still running
P9,
close.
good job. P9, nice and smooth.
Wow, we almost saw Servia make secondary contact there. Keep in mind, he's a lap down now.
Barron tries to keep his car up high out of the way. Servia works him. Then comes Moreno.
Coming off the 2nd corner, watch Servia. Well, Max Pappas, wow, they do touch.
They did touch.
Right rear to left rear. Max got a little loose. Servia had no give room. As I said, Alex Barron's a lap down here, but created a lot of passing potentials for this group.
And that's the game on the ovals. Not only do you have to drive as fast as you can, you have to figure out what the traffic is going to do ahead of you, especially when you're overtaking slower cars in the field. So the presence of Barron there caused everybody to try to find some place to race. And of course, you may be the front guy in the line, and then somebody else will take advantage of you.
Now watch. Servia gets around Moreno. Max gets a little tank slapper going there. Goes high. They touch. Everyone stays in the throttle. It's a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess, but you have no time to think. It's just reactionary to what's happening in front. I really don't think Kanaan's got a problem with his car. I just think he misguessed, got high, maybe got some tire pickup on the tires. And once he misguessed, lost momentum, everybody else were a bunch of sharks in a feeding frenzy and just sucked them right back to 10th place.
Alex Barron has come into the pit area, and Jan Vikas is keeping track of Kanaan. Is there a problem there?
No, I just spoke with Morris Nunn. He said there's nothing wrong with the car. We just got stuck in traffic, and we had some bad brakes. That's why he's falling back. For Dario Franchitti, you probably heard him make his pit stop in the background. They took out at least 6 turns of front wing.
6 turns? Unbelievable. Here comes Barron back into the fight as Montoya comes on Vassar. Well, whatever was wrong is now right.
Well, I don't think so. I think it's just Juan Montoya. He really doesn't care what the car is doing underneath him. When he's got a great car underneath him, you can't touch him. And now I think he is battling an ill-handling car. It's just he doesn't give up. He's got tremendous reflexes, as we've said time and time again, and he's simply not intimidated by ovals.
21st place Marquez is just ahead of him and now behind him. And again, traffic is going to become critical as Montoya, the leader, threads his way through. Vassar gets alongside Marquez. And Vassar is clear. Now Montoya once again working some slower traffic. That's Gidley.
And Gugelmin that he just got around there. And now Vassar's behind Gugelmin as that was nice synchronized passing between the two target teammates there.
Michael Andretti and Cristiano Damata. Battle is for 7.
Cristiano Damata up from 10th place. Michael, of course, started 15th. Has made the biggest improvement of anybody on the track.
Carpentier.
Oh, look how
goes at it with Tracy. Whoa! And now Kenny Breck and the rest of the field come out around the slower traffic as they're all beginning to catch it.
And understand the consequences of these cars running that close. They don't have fenders. They don't have doors. It's just not rubbing on each other. If they hook wheels, one of these guys is going to set a pole vault record And you've got to be, I mean, there's just a huge risk involved in these maneuvers, and the guys are doing them lap and lap and lap and lap again.
Carpentier is going to come down to the inside of Marquez as they come off the corner. He'll stay in position. Then Fernandez, and here comes Kenny Breck now as he turns down into the corner. Started 12th, now 6th. Jan.
Well, when you're looking at Cristiano D'Amata and Michael Andretti, of course, all the talk is that Cristiano D'Amata might be driving that car next year. Well, just before the start of the race, Paul Newman was there with team owner Carl Haas. And Carl Haas went over and grabbed Cristiano and introduced him to Paul Newman.
Well, there's another sign, and everybody up and down the paddock and the pit road, they thrive off of those kind of signs at this time of year, but then often, too, they're not necessarily right. In fact, all through the weekend, we just hear a rolling change of the entire silly season. We used to check it hourly. Now you got to check it about every 5 minutes. Vassar and Montoya go side by side again, and this time it goes to Vassar. Now Vassar comes around Shinji Nakano. Montoya is going to try the high side on Shinji. So it's Vassar, Montoya, Tracy Carpentier, and Adrian Fernandez. That's your top 5. 48 laps are complete in the Motorola 300. It's Toyota, the Honda of Paul Tracy, and then the 2 Fords of Carpentier and Fernandez. Fans here on a beautiful day at Gateway International. Vassar is the leader. Montoya, though, has fallen well back. 2.9 seconds behind the leader, and very shortly Paul Tracy will begin working on him. What do you speculate is the problem with Montoya?
Well, we saw that his car went wicked loose about 25 laps ago, and yet he's still out there fighting in second place. But Gary Gerald, you said there's something else going on with the car?
Well, the crew literally panicked. There was a radio conversation. Juan said something popped when he backed off the pace. The crew went over the wall thinking he was coming to the pits. Now they say whatever happened has taken care of itself, or it's now fine. The car's working the way it was before. They're still anticipating that when he does come in for the first pit stop, they're going to take a couple of turns a wing away from, take it out of the current setup on that machine.
Montoya trying to close the gap back to Jimmy Vassar. In the past week, CART has announced some new qualifying rules for next year. Jan, can you get us up to date on that?
Yes, they have. And not only did they do qualifying rules for next year, they did pit lane rules for this race. And if you take a look on pit road, you obviously have the white line that shows your pit box. But now when you leave the pits, and I call this the Gilles de Ferran rule, you're not allowed to cross the dashed line. That is the single white line you see in the middle of the pit road. In other words, even if someone's coming at only 50 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, you're not allowed now to pull in front of them. If you do, you'll get a black flag penalty.
Shinji Nakano back into the pits again. Vassar is now only 1.8 seconds ahead of Montoya. So Montoya, whatever it is, picking it back up, closing in once again.
And as we look at fastest laps, they all occurred right at the start of the race between laps 2 and lap 6. The track is slowly deteriorating. We're hearing a lot of radio calls from the drivers saying their cars have gone way loose. Michael Andretti, on the other hand, with his experience, knows exactly what the car needs to feel like at the beginning of the fuel run.
Michael, L3.
So that he can get the car to this stop with the car as neutral as possible.
Tracy, Carpentier, and Andretti, 3rd, 4th, and 5th now. And here comes the de Ferran and also Fernandez to join that fight.
Remember, we showed you that battle between Andretti and D'Amata early. Well, Andretti's car just remains the same. Everybody else's car is falling off the pace. D'Amata has fallen back to 10th. Michael now just waiting in the next few laps prior to these first round of pit stops beginning for the guys in front of him to start having chassis problems. And you can see here, Paul, how far D'Amata has dropped back. Lap 59 that we're currently on, that was the magic number to make it in 3 stops. They've done that.
D'Amata, Kanaan, Pappas sitting back at 10th spot in this 3-way battle. And they have Marquez and Barron ahead of them. And everybody looks for the pit road. Certainly D'Amata and Kanaan does. Pappas stays out. So does Tagliani. Long, long pit road here. And then you really have to slow it down and spend an additional long time all the way to turn 2 to get out. Blundell has made his stop. There's Helio Castroneves. D'Amata turns off. Watching Castroneves. 1 a week ago, as Parker mentioned, everybody's made it to the lap that they needed to run this race on the game plan.
But to show you how different the fuel strategy is, look at Kanaan and D'Amata fighting on the way out of the pits. D'Amata keeps that edge. We've just heard over the radio that Montoya is going to go another 6 to 8 laps before he comes in for fuel.
Michael Andretti comes in behind Paul Tracy.
Equipment is laid out ahead of you. Hit your box, Mike.
Jan Beekes.
We wait for Paul Tracy as we see Jimmy Vasser's crew setting up. Of course, Team Green, brilliant in the pits. Montoya takes the lead on the racetrack. And if you have 4 pit stops today, possibly 3, with some big wing changes at the front. Wow, 10.2 seconds by my watch, and he beats Michael out.
Boy, they took a lot of wing out of the front of that car.
This was interesting, though, because Vasser's crew laid out expecting him in, and then he stayed out on the track. Don't know if it's a miscue or Vasser just saw something that he wanted to do. Montoya remains out while Vasser is on the pit road. Gary?
There's the possibility that that might work out fortuitously for Vasser, because Max Pappas in the pit right behind him has just pulled in for his service. Now the crew waves for Vasser. We see him coming. The timing here could be critical. Jimmy's going to make it in before Vasser tries to get away. So here's Vasser for his service. Pappas goes by. Christian Fittipaldi goes by. And the clock is running as the new Firestones and 35 gallons of methanol go in. Cars down off the jack, started to creep. They hold it, trying to get all the fuel. He rolls. That's not a real fast stop. I had him at 14.3 here, Paul.
And he goes out on sticker tires as well, so Vasser goes back into the fight. Montoya is still the leader. But look at this with Moreno. Adrian Fernandez came out of 4th place and into the pits. Routine there. When Max Pappas came in, pretty interesting stop.
Max behind Jimmy. Watch the left rear. Watch the crewman. Jimmy Vasser's guy stands straight up. Says, fine, a little back arch. Clear that wheel, and off he goes.
Now, you saw the way Max came out there. That's what they've been talking about and addressing with the new rule, and where they're trying to keep the cars to stay to the left as they're coming up to speed and don't go straight out to the high-speed lane. Kenny Breck is in, Jan.
Well, you want to hear a revometer. Kenny Breck has got, and they added front wing. Whoa, baby! There's some revs, Gary.
And he goes by us, and I hear what you're talking about. We wait. Here comes Montoya now. He got a couple of more laps than his teammate Vasser. Oh, what a nice glide as he comes right in on target.
Reset everything.
Rob Hill, helmet cam, right front, working. Now the wing changes up front. 11 seconds, about 11 and a half as he's out of here. He was about 3 seconds quicker than his teammate.
And I'm sure you saw Dario Franchitti looked like he was climbing out of his car down at their pits as those stops were occurring. So we'll try and follow that up for you. Montoya's still the leader.
He comes out right in front of Michael Andretti. Michael gets him on the high side.
Michael cuts in between Marquez and Barron. And Michael Andretti picks up the lead as they cross the line. Mark Blundell has also climbed out of his car. So one of the 2 Pac West entries is gone as well. And Michael Andretti, the defending champion, takes the lead and now begins to pull solidly away.
And as they come to the line, as these pit stops shake out, you can see Paul Tracy now just over a second behind Montoya.
But Gary, why is Dario Franchitti out of the car?
We were about to ask him. He's talking with one of his crew members here. We'll get a quick word. What happened, Dario? What put you out of the car?
Well, the car was pretty horrible the first stint. We actually stopped early because it was so loose. We had to do something about it. Even on the straight, we had problems on the brake and all sorts of stuff. So we came in and fixed that. really any better, and then I missed a downshift on a fifth, and it broke the gearbox.
Boy, this gearbox thing has really been a riddle for everybody. Modifications been made, or were you concerned about the gearbox going into this race?
We weren't really concerned about it on the oval, but it's proved a big problem. I only missed one downshift, and that was it. That was the gearbox gone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenny Brack working on Patrick Carpentier. Carpentier is 7th. This is the closest fight on the track. Andretti has already pulled out 2.1 seconds on Montoya. That fight continues on at Gateway International. The Motorola 300 as the championship now begins to take on more and more definition. This was Christian Fittipaldi of the Newman Haas squad during his first pit stop of the day. Welcome back to the Motorola 300. I'm Paul Page with Parker Johnstone, Jan Mikas, and Gary Gerald in the pits. The battle is Carpentier and Kenny Brack, the battle for 7th. Nothing else actually nothing has changed since we left you, except that Michael Andretti is just laying down lap after lap at top speed. With the round of stops, Jimmy Vasser dropped from 1st to 4th. That's probably the greatest problem. And Carpentier found himself pushed back, having to do battle with Kenny Brack. The best news is that 2nd in the points, Michael Andretti was able to come out in the lead. Well, he came out trailing Montoya, but by the time they got around to the start line, he picked up the lead of the race. And there is Andretti now with 77 laps complete, 4.5 seconds ahead of Montoya.
And you mentioned how fast he's been going. He's turned 8 of the top 10 quickest laps after that last round of pit stops. And look at the championship contenders. Michael Andretti up from 15th to 1st. You look down to Tracy, started 3rd, currently running 3rd. You fall just a little farther back to DeFerrin in 5th. He's come up from 13th place. Right behind him, Fernandez. Also a jump from 7th now up to 6th position, and then just 2 positions further back, Kenny Brack. Moreno, the only one of our top 6 championship contenders, is out of the points right now, running in 15th.
Michael Andretti is having to fight with Alex Tagliani. You saw them dart out from behind Shinji Nakano, and now Michael's just trying to get around. Jan, you've been keeping track of Michael.
Yes, and I've also been keeping track of Mark Blundell, who has just stepped from his car. Mark, what put you out?
I think it's an engine failure, and it's a real shame because we're making some progress. Car balance was good. Fuel consumption was very good. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's just me at the moment. You know, whatever happens, it doesn't happen right for me at the minute. And it's just another nail in the coffin.
How disappointing that this is your sponsor's home race.
It's very disappointing. It's disappointing for me in the situation that I'm put in at this point. I just desperately want a good result. And, you know, the desperation's starting to show. But I'm sorry for Motorola and, you know, frustration for all of us here at Pac West. But I don't know.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you in Houston. And Paul, in regards to Michael Andretti, I asked if they had a full load of fuel, and they said yes, they filled it up. They didn't short fill for a quick stop.
Well, boy, it was a great stop then. Gave Michael Andretti the lead. We're watching Cristiano D'Amata and Max Pappas. Pappas, who won on the oval at Miami, the first race of the season. D'Amata wins on the oval at Chicago. And now the two of them battle for 10th. Boy, just so graceful in and out as they work their way through traffic. Little Honda Helicon shot down there for you. The backstretch. You may have noticed as they come off of turn 4, there used to be an overpass just off the exit of turn 4. They've now replaced that here with a tunnel. Makes everything a lot better for the fans, spectators, because now they have a clear view of turn 4.
You know, and watching from overhead, it looks like Max Pappas is driving a significantly longer distance than D'Amata. Watch how far he pulls off the wall once he comes off the exit. He dives towards the middle of the track. He gets ready for the entry, comes right back up on the line, takes the standard line through the corner. We noticed this yesterday in qualifying, Paul, how Max was not coming just off the wall to avoid the turbulence and the drag that's associated with the wall, but oftentimes driving past the halfway point in the track, like right here.
Lost a little bit of momentum there. Kanaan now comes up behind Pappas.
Yeah, Max got stuck behind Alex Barron there.
Yeah.
And you can see Kanan's trying to have the same problem here. He just picks up the draft, tries to look towards the inside, and outbreak Alex coming into the third corner.
Christian Fittipaldi and Servia are also part of that, as here comes Michael Moreno too. Michael comes up behind Moreno, who currently runs 15th, and very shortly Michael's going to try to put him a lap down. Jimmy Vasser is in 4th place, followed by DeFerrin. Gary?
Yeah, quick note here. Vasser apparently was using the button for the added horsepower before that first round of pit stops. He came in a few laps earlier than Montoya, and now they've told him to lean it down. He's running in 4th place. Gilles DeFerrin has picked up 2 seconds in the last couple of laps behind Vasser because Roger Penske has told Gilles he can go up +1 on the boost. So you got an interesting scenario being played out. Vasser in 4th trying to conserve, DeFerrin on the charge in 5th.
Servia gets Fittipaldi for 13th. Going up to the front of the field, the battle now is for 2nd place. It's Montoya and Tracy. This battle's happening about 3.5 seconds behind the leader, Michael Andretti. And very quickly, Alex Tagliani is going to be a factor in this battle. They close on Tagliani. Montoya, Tracy, and then Jimmy Vasser will be back there a little further. So the fight continues in the Motorola 300. Michael Andretti's Ford is now up at the front, followed by Toyota and Paul Tracy's Honda. There are 15 cars on the lead lap. Cristiano Damana's past couple laps has been particularly quick, but he's been caught back behind Helio Castroneves. They're both flying, but traffic is very much a factor. It's kind of enjoyable to watch as Michael Andretti has assumed the position of the senior statesman of the series, and so often you will hear time and time again him talk about let's take care of one another out there. He was been very vocal this week on the starts and how they can work to make it better, but he's kind of taken the role that his dad used to occupy. He's now 6.5 seconds ahead of Montoya.
And watching Michael, he's one of the few cars on the track that can run low, middle, or high. His car looks perfectly balanced. He can get through traffic very, very well. And when push comes to shove, so to speak, a lot of these guys are absolutely limited to where they can drive on the track because of the handling of their chassis. Michael doesn't seem to have that constraint.
Hasn't been a great day for Memo Gidley. Accident and warm-up, and now he's out of the race.
Yes, and let's find out why. Memo, what went wrong?
Well, the car was pretty good in the beginning, and then, I don't know, for some reason the car just got very, very loose. We did everything we could. We came in and tried to adjust it on the suspension. Just got super loose, and we were just basically in everybody's way out there. And just kind of didn't want to affect the outcome of the race. Just decided to come in.
Does that have something to do with the spare car blues? Did you have a weight jack or not stuff you needed to try and do it on the track?
No, we had everything working properly. The team did a great job switching everything over. The car was really good in the beginning, and I passed 4 or 5 cars in the beginning, but it just went loose and just got so bad that it was just, you know, we kept trying to work on it, and it just never got better. It's like something must be a little bit askew in the rear. I'm not sure.
Thanks, Mio.
Thank you.
Oh, did you see that? As Helio Castroneves and Breck battled, they came up on Guzman. Breck ended up very, very high, and Castroneves took advantage of it. Now pulls a little bit away from Kenny Breck, and just ahead of them is a battle that's been off and on between Carpentier and Adrian Fernandez. Go back and look at that, though, Parker.
Coming down into turn 1, Breck down low, can't get by Carpentier. Gugelmin slid slow. You can see how Kenny went high, as you said, Paul. Lost a lot of momentum coming off the corner. Castroneves picks the draft up perfectly with a great exit and goes by both of them.
And just that easily, he's got a position. Gugelmin, by the way, is 2 laps off of the race, so it wasn't a pass for position there. And once again, we've got another car that ran very high. Did you see DeFerrin as he came down off the corner? DeFerrin currently 5th.
And you can see Fernandez now taking advantage of that lost speed, looking down the inside. And there's two types of driver thoughts now. We're going to take one more look at that DeFerrin move that you saw, Paul, coming off that corner. There are drivers that are fighting for the championship and being conservative, others that are going for it. DeFerrin comes in underneath. Whoa! We had no idea that that's what happened. He got slammed coming down to the inside, got on the rumble strips, was very fortunate to keep control of that car after contact, slid it high and kept going. That was a huge moment.
Oh, I just caught him as he came down off of the corner and thought that he just motored up high. That's not the truth at all. He got onto that curb and it really pitched him.
10-4, do your best. We got about 20 laps.
Roger Penske to Jill DeFerrin. About 20 laps. They just crossed over the 100th of the 236. Actually, up to 102 is what the leader is working now, so 101 complete. 21 laps from now, 121st lap, they will be bringing the Penske cars in.
And he's going to come in for a change of tires, full fuel, and probably some laundering to his Nomex underwear after that. Comes inside Jimmy Vasser, heading down into the first corner. Jimmy just shuts the door. Gilles gets down on that curb, and those are very steep. You can see him start to lock it up. He gets off the brake pedal here to try to regain directional control of the car. Now he's up in the gray, which creates a whole separate problem. He is a very fortunate man with tremendous talent to have kept that thing off the wall.
DeFerrin made his first stop on the 60th lap, so a stop again.
+1, good job, +1.
On the 121st lap would make very, very good sense. DeFerrin currently 6th. Andretti 4.5 seconds ahead of Montoya. Kind of motored out there and now is just staying 4.5 ahead.
Like I was saying, you've got drivers that are fighting for career futures here and guys looking at championships like DeFerrin. The way they're running now, Michael Andretti would assume the lead from Gilles DeFerrin at 147 points over Gilles DeFerrin in second at 142nd. So DeFerrin knows he's got to come back up in the order.
Jimmy Vasser is very happy with Alex Tagliani.
Well, you voted him Mr. Congeniality after the last race at Laguna, and I don't think Jimmy was waving at the crowd there, Paul. Tag's already a lap down. Everyone understands that if you're about ready to go a lap down, you do everything you can to fight to stay on the lead lap. If a yellow comes out, and get back in the race. But once you're a lap down, usually the consensus of opinion with the drivers is you just get out of the way, let the leaders through, and not try to screw up their race.
And Tagliani is not in a fight with anybody, so there's no position front or rear to Tagliani right now that would matter to him. But he is running a pace very similar to Jimmy Vasser. What is happening is that Patrick Carpentier, Alex Tagliani's teammate, is going to battle for position with Vasser. And he sits right behind him now, and here comes DeFerrin as well. So if, in fact, Tagliani is able to bottle up Vasser, Carpentier may have a shot at him, but we shouldn't forget that DeFerrin is there as well. There is the top 5 in the order: Ford, Toyota, Honda, Toyota, and Ford. That's the top 5 in the FedEx Series. For the moment, the crews calculate and think ahead to the next stop, which should come right at the 120th lap. Back at the Motorola 300, Gateway International Raceway, Michael Andretti is still the leader. He's the leader now by only 2.6 seconds. Traffic affecting it somewhat. Montoya is driving just as hard as he can to get in there. You just see Montoya come off of the corner. And traffic, time and time again, has been a factor here. Max Pappas and Cristiano D'Amata have been battling one another. And just a moment ago, this was that battle.
Max getting a better exit coming off of 4, drafting Cristiano out, breaking him down the inside into turn 1. And Paul, when that happened, the crowd's getting a real aerobic workout just in front of our location. They stand up, they sit down, they stand up, they sit down. These guys have been going 2 abreast for a lot of this race, and the crowd is very much appreciative.
The leader has completed 113 laps. The leader, of course, is Michael Andretti, coming up to overhaul Mauricio Guzman. And there's second place, Montoya, 2.1 seconds back, last crossing of the line. Third place is Paul Tracy. He's another 2 seconds back from Montoya. Montoya Montoya trying to get around Roberto Moreno, who's a lap behind the lead right now in 15.
And he's really narrowed up that interval by a number of seconds over the last few laps to Michael Andretti. Of course, that can happen very quickly here with traffic.
Parker, as we watch Juan trying to close there on Andretti, radio communication from Chip telling Juan to try winding out the rear rebound. Now, what does that accomplish when you're sitting there in that cockpit and you got your hands full at these speeds?
Well, we got that same radio communication, Gary, and Target Chip Ganassi is one of the few, if not the only teams that actually has cockpit adjustable damper settings so that they can change the damping or the shock control of the chassis. What they're telling him to do by unwinding it is allow the car to roll in the back just a little bit more, try to pick up some mechanical grip, because as this course gets hotter and hotter, they're going to lose grip.
Jan Vikas, Cristiano's in.
Yes, he is, and they made a slight adjustment to the front wing. He only has one adjuster, and they added some front wing, so everyone else is going loose. D'Amata looks like he's got a push.
D'Amata came in on the leader's 116th lap, so that may affect the overall strategy for Cristiano D'Amata.
And we can see on Cristiano's car, they don't set the outside and inside wings exactly the same. The inside wing is a little bit more efficient. It's got cleaner air because the air is not spilling over the nose. So if they're making fine adjustments, they'll adjust that outside wing up or down accordingly. If they want bigger adjustments, then they'll go after the inside one. But that inside wing being more efficient will usually carry more angle than the outside wing.
Hey, Parker, but the weird thing there was no adjuster on the outside that I could see. I don't know if some debris knocked it off, but that might be another reason why they only went to the one side.
And you know, Jan, there's been a lot of complaints this weekend of debris on the racetrack.
Montoya slowed down a bit. Keep an eye on Montoya. Tracy got around him.
Tell me when the windows of this open. Look. I'm trying to hang on a left.
So Montoya's just trying to hang on.
Yeah, but he's also discussing fuel and pit strategy. Asked Chip when the window opens. It opens right now at a lap 120. So not as he's making a lot of cockpit adjustments and hanging onto a car that's not handling well, he's also figuring out pit and fuel strategy at 200 miles an hour.
But that's what I was suggesting as well, is he's just trying to hang on until they can make that stop.
And they're talking about 5 turns of wing on the front. So you're talking about a massive change as he tries to hang on to that very loose car.
I don't remember a day in recent memory where on an oval we're seeing those kind of changes, and we're seeing a bunch of them.
Because the engineers have spreadsheet programs that take into account. They take into account barometric pressure, track temperature, outside air temperature, ride heights, tire pressures, so that they can put these cars exactly where they need to be in order to be well balanced. And everybody's been outguessed by the track and weather conditions today.
Ariel Servia led the run for the pits earlier. He does it again as he comes in for routine service. This is the 121st lap. His team, TPI, is third in the Craftsman pit stop contest, so that service is usually quick and good. Elio Castroneves comes onto the pit road as well. Penske team waiting, so is Gary Gerald.
We will watch from the back of the car, and the service for Castroneves. He flies by. DeFerrin will be coming as well. So one crew ducks out of the way, the other goes to work. Don't get a good clear view from our vantage point of Castroneves. Everything seems to be routine. A lot of tire smoke as he gets out in 11.5 seconds. Now we'll look up the line, and here come other contenders. Let's go to Jan.
In the meantime, let's watch Michael Andretti's pit stop as DeFerrin makes his way to you, Gary. Obviously, they're going to go with 4 tires. We look at the front of the car as we look from behind. No wing adjustments. Let's get back to Gary.
Everything routine thus far for Gilles DeFerrin. Revs coming up. Tires are changed. Fueling nearly complete. Holding him. Now he gets away. And he's right beside Michael Andretti. That new pit rule. Can't see him as they exit, Paul. Who got the nod there?
Yeah, Michael Andretti got out ahead of him. We got a glimpse of Paul Tracy there as well, but Michael Andretti definitely came out ahead of DeFerrin. So at the 121st and 4-3 laps, the pit stops have occurred here. 236 laps, the scheduled distance to make up the just under 300 miles in the Motorola 300.
And it's surprising to go this far in an oval without a yellow flag, but the teams have realized in recent races that that is a possibility. So they look at the minimum stop strategy necessary to minimize that time in the pits. I mentioned that it was going to be 3 stops. Everyone said, nah, it's going to be 4. These guys are getting phenomenal mileage while racing very, very hard.
Montoya, who has continued on, picked up the lead of the race. That was expected. He's just waiting for his own personal fuel window to open so that he can get to the end of the run.
Well, and that window is now open, but what they're trying to do is gain track advantage in case a yellow does come out later.
All right, we're going to stop in 6 laps. If you get any traffic, you have to slow down. I want you to pit, okay?
That's Chip Ganassi telling him if he's got anyone ahead of him that kills these lap times to come in, it's better to come into the pits and then deal with the traffic on the way back out.
20 cars still in competition. Top 7 remain on the lead lap.
And look how much faster Moreno is coming down the straightaway.
Moreno, this is going to be a tight battle, but Moreno goes by. He's just trying to get laps back at this point. He's 2 laps behind the leader, and Montoya very wisely lets him go. 127 laps complete by the leader. He's working 128. And it's been green all the way. Nice, clean race. Jimmy Vasser is in second. You look back from Jimmy's car now, and there's third place, Patrick Carpentier. That's Fernandez coming around the corner behind him.
Patrick Carpentier, one of the drivers looking for a ride next season. He's talked to a number of the different owners. When I spoke with him yesterday, he said, look, I just need...
This time, Jimmy, pit this time. Tell me about the wing.
Jimmy?
Save it right now. Let's save it.
There you go. I'm sorry, I'm a little busy right now. But Carpentier told me that he was just waiting for things not to go wrong one race so he can finally win one of these and prove to everyone what he knows he can do.
Having been looking pretty good the past couple of races, not counting that slip over the fence during practice. Jimmy Vasser on the pit road. Carpentier assumes second. And Montoya will be coming in right behind Jimmy Vasser.
Nobody's in your way. Nobody's in your way. You got us. Clean shot here, buddy.
All right, here's Vasser now. He comes in and hits his target, and we wait for Montoya. We can see him way up in the pit road at 50 miles per hour. Now, timing could be something here because Vasser's almost ready to go. Here comes Montoya. They're holding Jimmy. Montoya gets in. Jimmy gets out. And now the service for Juan. Boy, that was nicely choreographed, and they can be thankful that they've got big pits, 50 feet in length. That's much larger than usual, and they used every bit of it. 11.7 on the clock there for Montoya. Looked like routine service.
Yeah, you can see they took another couple of turns out of the front wing. And when it's loose to Montoya, it is just impossibly loose for anybody else.
The hold for Vasser meant the stop went to 13-1 for Jimmy. Tracy in and out at 11-2, and Montoya in and out at 11-7. Kenny Breck is now on the pit road. He comes in from 5th place. Down to the Ray Hall Letterman team. Look at all the dust and smoke come off when they pull that right front.
Shows you how much they're using the brakes. As soon as they tip the wheel down, that was all brake dust.
So Patrick Carpentier, who has gone 66 laps since his last stop, assumes the lead, but his crew is now out and waiting for him as he turns onto the pit road. Kenny Breck in and out 11.6. Wheel stop to wheel start. Adrian Fernandez also makes his stop. But here comes the current leader, Patrick Carpentier, and Jan Vikas is waiting.
Yes, and Parker was talking about that he just wants a race with nothing to go wrong. Well, one of the key things you need to go right is your pit stop. They are only going to make a half-turn change on the front wing. When we've seen so many big changes on cars, this should be pretty minor for Patrick Carpentier. Yep, just a half. Waiting for the fuel. Not a lot of revs, but that's all you needed, 11.8.
As Patrick Carpentier comes back up to speed, Michael Andretti picked up the lead of the race. And during that stop, you got a pretty good view of the aerodynamics on the nose of Carpentier's car. It's different than most of the other cars here.
And we saw that debuted last year by Peck West. The push nose. They also have a couple of additional little deflectors, and that's not so much to gain downforce at the front, but to clean the airflow into the undertray so that the underwing works more efficiently.
Michael Andretti has reassumed the lead of this race at Madison, Illinois, just across the river from St. Louis, the Motorola 300. Fans here have a beautiful day, seem to be enjoying the time. You notice there a little bit of a change. The change is that Paul Tracy has been passed by Montoya. Montoya now second. But more important, there is Michael Andretti about to put the third place car, Paul Tracy, 1 lap behind.
And Paul Tracy just got the blue flag from starter Jim Swintel, and here comes Michael Andretti.
Michael Andretti tries to look to the inside, does not work here, but he may have the momentum when he comes off of the corner. Tracy's not going to be real happy about giving the position away, though.
You absolutely don't want to go a lap down, but I don't think he's got a choice.
Well, he's going to try to make a choice. Tracy very, very close to the right rear of Michael Andretti, but he still can't hold him off. Michael Andretti owns this track. Track record. It looks like it's going to just absolutely be shattered. Alex Zanardi said it at 125 miles an hour, 34 miles an hour faster than that. Part of the reason, of course, is we haven't had any caution periods, no yellow flags, no incidents.
And Michael got a great shot coming off the last corner. Tracy's trying to hold on to the inside. Look how close Tracy's left front was to Michael's right rear. You got to be careful here. It's not only the race win, we're talking championship. Michael coaching Michael all the way around the track. Mario saying, hey, be careful of Paul. Keep in mind what's at stake here. And Michael just stuck him going down into the first corner.
Michael Andretti is the leader. His father, Mario, watches from the pit. Sometimes I think Mario's a little more tense watching than he ever was driving. Let's send you to the pits and Jan.
Well, I can tell you, not only was Mario tense, the whole crew, you should see them. They were standing, looking at the monitor, saying, whoa, come on, Paul, look out. It was a nervous moment for them, and they had a big cheer when he cleared Paul Tracy.
So now he has the remainder of that battle up at the front. D'Amata, Servia, DeFerrin, Pappas, they are all fighting for position.
And now Michael is closing down on Juan Montoya to lap second place. And it's one thing, Paul, I know in the past we've seen where the winner has come through and lapped a lot of cars, but we've had almost no attrition, certainly no attrition from any of the front runners. And I can't remember in recent times when the leader has just come storming through the field. Remember, Michael started back at 15th, not only gotten back to the front, but he's lapped everybody in the process.
It's interesting how that whole attrition thing swings back and forth. All of those problems at Road America, and then here at this race we've had problems with attrition for a couple of races. All of a sudden everybody's smooth. Michael Andretti now looking at second place Montoya.
Yeah, other than Dario Franchitti having a gearbox problem, no one in the top 15 has had a problem so far this race. It's been absolutely amazing. Michael Andretti's car is working so well. I can tell you from experience, when the car works like that, you've got the easiest job on the racetrack. It's for the other guys that are hanging on that this is a very, very long day.
Yeah, that was Christian's Newman Haas car. Here is Michael's. It's Christian that's actually sitting right up behind him. But Michael's closing the ground pretty quickly. 174 now complete. And Parker, I'm guessing we're looking at stops here very shortly.
Well, we've seen guys wait right until the fuel window opens, which is every 59, 60 laps, which means we should see it again here in the next 6 or 7 laps. Other drivers like Montoya and a few others have extended it quite a bit farther, trying to pick up the advantage under a yellow. But certainly, I would say, Paul, in the next 6, 7, 8 laps, they should be coming into the pits for the last service.
Second place, Montoya, is 24 seconds back from the leader. Actually, only a little bit ahead of the leader physically on the track. Back from the leader in terms of the race itself. Now, the last time everybody hit the pits, it scrambled everything because the race now being determined by the pit crews, with, of course, the exception of Michael, who's the class of the field and class of the day.
Michael, go up 2 on fuel to slot 6.
DeFerrin gets around Servia. Now we're beginning to see some movement back here. DeFerrin takes a look at D'Amato. Pappas comes up on Serbia. Michael's all alone. Observers reporting last time around coming off at 2. Michael got a little loose.
And check this out. Watch the back of the car as he comes off the corner. Watch it move right here as he comes off. We said how perfect Michael's car is, but you can see it wiggle as he comes off the corner. So Michael Andretti might have a great car underneath him, but he's certainly not cruising.
I wonder about that left rear on the car. Did it look like it was a little bit down?
Well, he certainly would be in. They've got telemetry that would tell him that.
Cristiano D'Amato on the pit road. He comes out of the middle of that fight. This is the 177th lap.
Yes, Paul, and we expected him to be the first of the group because he was the first of the group last time around. And without any caution flags, everyone should be in a similar sequence. And that was only a half turn this time out of front wing. The fuel takes a little bit longer. 12.9 seconds. That's pretty decent, but I think we'll see better here in a few moments.
D'Amato becomes the first of those to stop. That's what he and Serbia have been regularly doing. Andretti has completed 178, now working 179 laps on the backstretch. Montoya nearly a full lap back from him.
L3, Michael. L3.
So I would say the window for fuel is once again officially open. And this stop will take them to the finish. And again, a green flag race all the way. They're just burning up the track record.
L2, Mike. L2.
And of course, L2 means 2 laps on pit road. We're on the way down to check on Michael.
You can hear Jan
on the run.
The Newman Haas pits. And this is the dream of every driver. People say, well, isn't it great to come from the back and lead? No, everybody wants to qualify on the pole and just run away and hide. Well, Michael started from midfield, got to the front, but now with this sort of advantage,
L1, Mike, L1.
telling him one more lap till he comes in. With this sort of advantage, with the championship at stake, the $1 million Vanderbilt Cup at the end of the season, you really have to keep your head about you, but you can't let back too much. You've got to keep pushing, keep focused, and keep in the zone.
Michael Andretti, with his years in the series, so savvy about this. Not going to fight with anybody. He's got Moreno behind him. He is certainly well aware that Moreno is 3 laps back, and if Moreno wants to charge on him, there is no reason to fight him. He's already been called into the pits as he comes onto the backstretch. He comes over to the left and heads for the pit road.
The pit lane, Michael.
Nice and smooth. He dials on to the pit road, gets down to the pit speed limit, hopefully.
You have a clear entrance and exit. Look for Timmy. Watch your speed, Mike, and hit your marks.
Here he comes, Jan.
Being reminded of the obvious, but they don't want to make any mistakes here in Newman Haas. So far, the tire changing is trouble-free. Once the tires are done, it comes off the jacks. Now we just wait for fuel. 11.7. Wow. Everything's going perfect so far for Michael Andretti.
Fine stop for Michael Andretti. Montoya on the front stretch came around and picks up the lead of the race. But Montoya is going to come in immediately. He stayed out a little longer before, so I'm kind of surprised he's in so quickly.
How about any wing? You want any wing, in or out? 2.5 up, 2.5 wing, 2 turns up, 2 turns up. 10-4, 2 turns up.
Helio Castroneves and Oriol Servia ahead of him. And Gary, here comes Montoya.
This was ahead of schedule. We thought it might be another 8 laps. They elected to bring him in now. Obviously, anything they can gain is of value. Look at all of the turns on the front wing. Once again, Tracy jumps in front of him. 11.5 seconds. Juan Montoya back out there.
The green team goes to work on Paul Tracy. Tracy intently watching to make sure he knows when to pull out. He's cleared to run, and Tracy is on the way.
The difference that time with Montoya, we saw him putting wing back in the car. Obviously, they overcorrected for the oversteer problem.
Watch the back of Michael's car. Of course, when Tracy came in, he picked up the lead. Max Pappas and Patrick Carpentier is not stopping. Look at the back of the car. There's a stream of vapor there.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke coming off the back of that car, and you have to wonder with this sort of advantage when the old Andretti luck would kick in. Or Master. He's slowing going down the back straightaway. It doesn't look like he's carrying as much speed going into the third corner.
And it only gets worse. You know that the Ford engineers are looking at the telemetry and have a pretty good idea from telemetry and direct observation exactly what's going on with Michael. He's keeping it out there and keeping it in the lead.
What's it look like? What's the problem look like? The boost is low, Michael. Try and hang on. Stay out.
All right, we've got a little smoke or vapor or something at the back. Got the team reporting that their telemetry says the boost is low.
I don't know how you put those two items together right now, other than there's a hole in something that's causing the smoke and causing the boost to go down.
Seal going in the turbocharger?
Oh boy, I don't know. Difficult to speculate now.
Max Pappas is in second place. Carpentier is third. Vassar is fourth. There's Carpentier, moves on Pappas, and Carpentier picks up second. Neither of these two cars, though, have stopped for their final load of fuel. In fact, those that have not stopped, Carpentier, Pappas, Vassar, and Kenny Breck, none of those have stopped. Next in line that has stopped is Montoya. He's currently sixth. So by now, I'm sure Montoya's team has let him know that Michael may have a lame car, and also certainly let him know that he's the guy that will move into second place as soon as the cars ahead of him stop. Already, Montoya was able to get around Kenny Breck and move into fifth place.
And he was holding up about 159, 160 miles an hour. He's now down to 155 miles an hour. And it looks like that trail of smoke is getting a little worse.
Now there's the tail right there as the lap speed's just steadily dropping down the chart. Now he picked it up on the last lap. Came up to 159. He was 155 before that. Max Pappas finally comes in.
No changes on the setup. That was a quick stop. Under 11 seconds. Short fill. Of course, the farther you can go, the less laps remaining. And so that saved him a little time on fuel.
And our master statistician handed me this, Russ Thompson. I better get it in while we can in case this problem gets worse. It's the last time that a driver won a race by a lap was back in Phoenix of April of 1993 when Mario was a lap ahead of Raul Boesel, but there were only 13 cars running at the finish. We certainly haven't had anywhere near that sort of attrition today. His lap speed this last lap, Paul, was back up to 160.98 miles an hour. We'll see what it is this lap.
Michael Andretti with an increasing show.
That time 162 miles an hour, so even quicker.
Try and hang on to what you can.
Remember that sometimes these engines get faster just before they get done.
Yeah,
and guys, you know, just listening to it on the front straightaway, it sounds to me like a broken exhaust header, and we might see the smoke, you know, from what it's burning, but it definitely sounds like it's getting worse.
And we've seen that a few times this season on Christian Fittipaldi's car, where they've had exhaust problems. It's burned the bodywork. We've seen smoke from the back.
Jimmy Vassar, one of those that have not yet stopped, is now in, Gary.
He's been very frustrated because he fell down in that last stop out of the top 10. Short fill for him, just under 10 seconds and gone. But of course, he's going to drop down the board.
And for Jimmy Vassar, new tires. For Michael Andretti, a lot of worries. He's going to try and hold on, and we'll be back. happened to Michael. He's just climbed out of the car. Suddenly, right on the front stretch, the engine really, for the display, engine, whatever the problem was, it let go. Burst of flame. Michael pulled it off, got it offline quickly. Gary?
Michael, I don't know if you can put into words what this feeling must be like, but first of all, was this car as good as anything you've ever driven?
Yeah, it was really awesome today, I'll tell you. We didn't know what to expect for the race, and we went with our gut instinct, and it paid off, and then the engine blew.
Can you tell us, they were telling you to hang on and do the best you can. You're really helpless in that situation, aren't you?
Well, I held on. We lost boost after the pit stop, and then it was just losing more and more power as we went on, and finally it blew up.
Is there any bright spot you can find on a day like this when this happens?
No, I mean, that probably took care of the championship.
Boy, and I guess that really sums it all up.
You know, and just in the past few minutes, as we watch the leader Carpentier come in the pits, Michael's just been dropping down that points list for the championship. Jan?
Patrick Carpentier on pit road for his service. And we won't say that everything's going perfect for Patrick Carpentier, because the last time I said that, Michael Andretti had a problem almost immediately.
Carpentier, the service complete.
You can see they can short fuel him there because he's got so few laps now to go to the end.
Montoya picks up the lead. Andretti, in the current tracking of the points, drops to third in the points, and Paul Tracy now picks up the lead owing to his third place at the moment. For second place, it's Montoya, Tracy, Carpentier now.
How incredibly frustrating that must be to have such control over a race, to be able to run the way Michael ran and then have that happen.
Mario climbed on the radio as Michael was slowing to a stop, tried to give his son some comfort, telling him he's still the best, and he gave it all he could. Montoya, leader, working the 204th lap. D'Amata, Servia, Pappas.
And Servia and Pappas came in side by side into turn 3. Pappas got blocked in behind some slower traffic. The crowd came to its feet one more time as they did that. Max obviously running very, very hard here with a faster car. It's just he can't seem to utilize that speed to get around Servia. Servia looking at the back of his teammate.
D'Amata and Servia teammates driving for Cal Wells at PPI. They too are the center of a lot of the conversations around the paddock. Who's going where next year? In fact, some conversation is whether or not there will be a PPI in this series next year. Pappas inches closer and closer. He's secure in his future with Bobby Rahal and Dave Letterman. Bracken Pappas already announced, in fact, some time ago for next year with the current sponsorship.
Except, you know what, I hardly believe anything I hear anymore, because it wasn't that long ago that we also heard that Cristiano D'Amata had been signed and sealed for next year at Cal Wells's place. So things change even as the season gets farther and farther on, and you think deals are done for certain.
And you got to remember that just because a contract is signed doesn't mean that that contract can't be purchased by somebody else. In fact, I'm fully expecting contract futures to show up on the market just any day now. Montoya is the leader. Working on 207. Tracy is second place. Whoa, up high.
Really high. We saw that.
Tagliani. Carpentier's teammate comes around, and remember, Carpentier is third. Oh, that's as close to a yellow as we've been all day.
And I saw that developing because you could see how they had gotten boxed in there. Tag was on the high side and not giving up. We cut there. And I assumed that, well, the problem with Barron and where he was running with Kanaan wasn't a problem, but we'll take a look at that one more time. That was phenomenal. Now you can see Tag on the high side, Montoya down low behind Barron. Tag washes up high and holds on to this thing, and the back end rotates as he gets out towards the exit. You'll see it this time.
Yeah, look at the back end of the car here now.
Oh, I'm hanging on.
Baby.
And I tell you, doing tank slappers at 160 miles an hour coming off that corner is not fun. Look at that.
And guess what? Our first caution of the day.
Okay, we're obviously staying out. Just look for the pace car.
Yellow comes out. Let's keep an eye on Tracy because Kanan's coming up on him pretty quick. The report was that Tracy slowed. The assumption is he slowed for the caution, but we're not sure.
Well, we'll see what happens here, because if he's trying to put some more fuel in the bank so he can run hard at the end, then obviously as soon as the yellow comes out, as long as no one's going to rear end him, he's going to back out of the throttle, go up to 6th gear and lean out just as soon as he can. We'll see what happened here.
Tracy is down on where it would be an approach to the pit road.
Whoa, he got really high. Oh, well, that answers that question.
They think they've got a flat right rear, guys.
Well, they got against the wall, certainly with the right rear, if not the right front as well, Gary.
And keep in mind, currently that was our championship leader after Michael's retirement. Forget about everything I said about fuel conservation. He just got way up in the groove coming into the 3rd corner. And you've got to keep in mind, Firestone's built a great tire once again for this weekend. There's very, very little marbling occurring. But once you get up in this area where the track hasn't been rubbered, it's like getting onto gravel. There's just no traction there. At least he hit parallel with the wall, hopefully to minimize any damage that may have occurred there. And you can see there's severe damage. That shows that the right rear at least is down, picking up that left front.
Well,
always happens on the diagonal.
Right rear didn't look convex like it should. It looked like it might be down on air, but you would expect that because it slapped the wall pretty good. Looked like the right front only brushed it. But right now, Tracy still occupies the top of the points. That will change pretty quickly here. There's no doubt Tracy's got to head for the pits. Left front just riding along in midair. Again, as Parker suggested, you take it down on the right rear, the left front is going to come up. That's how perfectly balanced these cars are. So our first caution of the day comes at the 210th lap. We'll be right back. See it at this point, looks like one of the suspension members is in fact bent. The lower control arm may be bent, which is right where they were looking.
The lower A-arm on the right side, Paul, definitely is kinked. You can see the kart official going to have a look at it, and Team Green said, no, go, you're fine. But we could definitely see suspension damage to that right side.
They've grabbed new suspension pieces down here. I think we may see Tracy back here very shortly.
And there, very clearly, you can see that trailing arm on the lower right-hand side is bent.
And Tracy is back on the pit road, and to show you how the championship battle continues to be fought, just with that stop, Tracy lost the lead in the points fight, and DeFerrin took it over. Moreno moved into 2nd place, Andretti into 3rd, and Tracy's dropped all the way to 4th in just one little stop because of that incident.
But keep in mind,
Gary?
All right, now they bring Tracy back in, see if they shut down the engine or not. Keeping it running at this point, assessing the damage at the back. Paul anxiously looking in his mirrors. We're at the front of the car. Rick Rice with our crew at the back. Now the engine is shut down. Oh, my goodness.
So what do you do at this point? Do you go ahead and try and change that with 236 lap race and 213 complete? We go back green. Montoya is a lap on the rest of the field. Look at Pappas swing down, trying to get D'Amata and Servia.
And Cristiano shut him off up high with Servia. Ooh, look how close Max and Oriol were. And then he shut off Oriol on the high side, Max on the low side. Very interesting piece of defensive driving. Look at Max. He's all over the back of Servia, looking for any sort of room.
Left, right, he looks everywhere. Max Pappas trying to catch Servia. Pappas is 6th. Carpentier gets his lap back. Not a move for the lead. That gets him back on the lap.
Remember that Andretti had lapped everyone past Paul Tracy except Montoya. So Montoya has a lap on the field right until that move by Carpentier. Carpentier had his best finish ever in the FedEx Champ Car Series here back in the inaugural race in '97. He matched it at Vancouver. But this is huge for this young French-Canadian looking for a ride for next season.
Roberto Moreno is 3rd place right now. Jan?
Yes, and Paul, just before we had that yellow, the team had told me that he would not stop. In other words, without the yellow, they had enough fuel in that, believe it or not, to make it a 2-stop race. With this yellow, they absolutely won't have to stop.
Paul Tracy out of the car with Gary. They're not going to try to fix it, Gary. It doesn't make sense.
No, the repair, they can't make it. Paul, was there something that prompted that incident where you got out and made contact?
Yeah, I lost the gearbox going into turn 3. I lost fifth, fourth, and when I downshifted, the gearbox started locking up, and I slid up into the gray and brushed the wall. That's what flattened the tire. But the problem is, our big problem is the gearbox. We've only got a couple gears in it now, and I feel bad for the guys and Team Cool Green. We had a great car today, and it's unfortunate.
This championship roller coaster is taking another big toll here. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking good there with us. All we were looking for was a solid finish, and it's a shame the gearbox went away, because, you know, we were right there in the top three pretty easily all day, and I just feel bad for Team Cool Green. Thanks, Paul.
Tough time for Paul. He drops to fourth in the points. We hope things get better. Montoya's the leader. Carpentier, 23 seconds behind the leader.
And that was some heads-up planning, though, I have to tell you, from Team Green. As we look down from the Honda Helicam, what they did is they made the tire change to Paul's car. They sent him out so he wouldn't lose a lap behind the pacer car to come in and evaluate the damage. I'm surprised, though, at the gearbox, because remember, Paul Tracy at Elkhart Lake came from essentially dead last to win that race. Everybody else was falling out with gearbox problems. Paul didn't have a problem at Vancouver. He said, hey, I hardly ever have gearbox problems. I know how to take care of it. Here, you're shifting only twice a lap, and yet in championship contention, the gearbox fails, and he's out of the run today.
You know, to try and get more air through the tunnels at the rear of the car, there have been a couple of changes this year that includes kind of an angle drive up to the gearbox. And the start of the year, Parker, you and I both said, boy, that just looks like it might create some fragility at the back of the car. And everybody said, no, but we've seen gearboxes going right and left all season. There's the points as they are right now. In the points, Montoya moves up 3 to 8. That's only 31 back. And there's 66 points available after this race. So this is going to help move Montoya into the game. Roberto Moreno, he's third. Jan?
Yes, remember I said how unbelievably he made it in 2 stops? Well, so unbelievable. He didn't actually do it. The crew has just informed me that what happened was he went out of sequence. They actually made a quick stop earlier on and short filled. So he did, in fact, make 3 pit stops. But when he stopped certainly was crucial, because now he's looking really good after that Jim McGee strategy.
Yeah, he's only 14 laps out of his last stop, whereas the leader Montoya's 38 since his lap. We're at the 223rd lap right now, 236 the distance.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about DeFerrin, Andretti, and Tracy in this championship battle. We've included Moreno in the top 6. The numbers that I crunched coming into this weekend shows that Roberto Moreno has had the best average finishing position of our top 6 championship contenders on ovals. And here he is doing it again. The Pat Patrick team with great strategy. Although they've had problems with the chassis this weekend, when it came time to the race, they had it worked out.
Averaging at 155 miles an hour right now. Race record 125 set by Zanardi in 98. So even with that caution, they're still flying well above the race record. Now, Parker, I've been watching you do all kinds of math and spreadsheets all this week. And don't I remember you saying that, well, it's going to be DeFerrin that's going to come away with the championship lead at the end of this run?
Well, that's what I said, and you laughed at me a couple of days ago just based on what the numbers said. But we have seen in the past that how well Tracy and Andretti has done here at Gateway, and then coming to the next 2 street course races at Houston and Surfers, that certainly favors those 2 drivers. And then Fontana, a 500-mile shootout. Well, anything could happen, but the numbers say that Gilles DeFerrin should be the guy when this is all over. We'll see if that works out or not.
Carpentier's been flying, turned the last lap at 167, this lap at 166 miles an hour, while Montoya, the leader, is down at 162, and he's closed a good 7 seconds on the leader during the last several laps. Gary?
Well, sometimes we chuckle about the mentality of Juan Montoya and his personality, which is so much fun, that we've come to know the last couple of years. He's been told that Carpentier is a second faster per lap. Juan's response, don't worry.
You want to see how fast Carpentier has in fact been? Of course, he's been running in the clear. So is Montoya. There's Carpentier, and we want to show you the last laps. They're the fastest laps of the race thus far.
And remember, until Michael's retirement, Michael had 8 of the 10 quickest laps. And now look at what Patrick's done. And remember in 1997, I went back and replayed that race of him pleading on the radio then to his team owner. He was leading. Paul Tracy was catching him, saying, please don't make me lean it out. can win this race. And they said, no, you won't make it. And you could tell he was just heartbroken. Well, today he may not win over Montoya, but he is certainly driving for all he's worth because his very career may depend on this finish.
Carpentier picked up another second on Montoya, now 14 and a half behind, 8 laps to go.
All you have to do is do the math. He's got to go a lot faster than this with 8 to go in order to catch flying Juan Montoya.
He's going to need to pick up about 2 per lap to be able to accomplish that, and then he's also going to have some traffic to deal with.
And then, of course, he'd actually have to pass Juan, which is a whole different issue.
Montoya, though, had trouble in the early going. We saw uncharacteristic of Montoya smack with a wall on Friday. They were trying the single-sided turbo on the car, and he smacked it into the wall. Other cars were trying it as well. He came out in the backup car, which didn't have it, and immediately laid down the fast lap of the weekend. Everybody said, that's enough of the single-sided stuff.
But think how amazing it is, Paul, that was the first unforced error we've seen from Montoya. The only other oval incident was last year at Motegi with Michael Andretti, and I think that was just a territorial dispute. And even though he lost it coming off the last corner, he did such an amazing job of controlling that car. He minimized the damage when it impacted the wall.
His owner, Chip Ganassi, obviously saying something to Montoya there. 5 laps to go. Is he going to be the man?
Well, we've heard this, remember last year as he was leading Vancouver, and Chip was telling him, take it easy, take it easy. And as he's sliding the car broadside through a corner, Juan gets on there and he goes, don't worry, I've got it. It's no problem. What an amazing talent this young man is.
Toyota looking for their 4th straight win on an oval. Carpentier still closing, but because Carpentier stopped 32 laps ago, Montoya 48 laps ago, you would think that Montoya will now pick up the speed. Carpentier crossed the line 12 seconds behind the leader.
Now, we've talked about the Drivers' Championship. You mentioned Toyota. We also have an engine manufacturer that's very important. That championship coming in was led by Honda, then Ford, then Toyota. Honda now, best runners, DeFerrin in 8th place. Ford in 2nd place. Toyota leading would also shake up that championship as well.
About 2.5 laps to go. I want to show you the manufacturer points coming into today as Montoya just reels it off nice and neat. Look at 1 point separation, Honda, Ford. Toyota's going to take a leap in that now if they can continue their position on the track for the next 2 laps with Montoya at the helm. Time's running out rapidly for Carpentier. He improved only about second the last lap. He's not going to make it, but still it's going to be a spectacular ride for Carpentier. He comes home in 2nd place, equaling his best finish.
The crowd now on their feet, Paul, as the white flag comes out.
He has been so powerful on the ovals this year. He's going to do it again. Montoya, 1 more pass of the backstretch and he will have his 10th career win in hand. And that's going to tie him for 9th on the all-time list. Rutherford, Sneva, Unser, those kind of names. Checkered flag.
Praise the Lord. You're the man. You are the man.
A slight change for the mantra by Ganassi, but nevertheless it finishes as a win. Now, still some action going to continue behind him. We'll see how Carpentier certainly will come across in 2nd place. And the checkered's going to come out for the rest of the field. Moreno, D'Amata, Serbia, Pappas. That should be the top 6 behind Juan Montoya. But at a record pace, 155.5 miles an hour. Almost 30 miles an hour faster than the track record set in 1998 by Alex Zanardi. Well, the results are unofficial here today at Gateway International Raceway. Montoya, though, most certainly has won and picked up a point for the pole and stays in the championship fight, followed by Patrick Carpentier. What a great ride for a very deserving young man. You see that Andretti picks up the point for leading the most laps. Jan Beekes right now is with Patrick Carpentier.
And of course, so many smiles and so many handshakes. So many people know that you have had a very difficult season. This has got to feel good.
Yeah, I'm so happy, you know, for me, players, team, and everybody. It comes at a good time. You know, we've been working hard and prove that when we have a good car and the team does well, we end up at the front. I'm so happy. You know, the team didn't make any mistake. We're fast in the pits. We had players had a good pit strategy. Didn't make any mistake on the racetrack, so everything was good. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Now tell me about when Michael Andretti, who seemed to have a perfect car today, he put you a lap down. At that stage, did you figure you were cooked?
Yeah, I thought, because I think we were up to 11th place at one point, and I said, man, how come we're in 11th place? You know, I kept running. At the beginning, I was with the leaders, and I said everybody disappeared, and we ended up in 11th place. But we had a different pit strategy, and because there was not too many yellow flags today, what we bet on, it worked out for us. So the players' team had a good deal today in the pits.
When a guy who has a Ford engine goes out there and blows up, when you have a Ford, does that make you concerned?
Yeah, not too much, you know, because I haven't had too many problems with mine this year. And in the race, I don't think I've blown up one so far. So I was hoping it was going to hold up. I was trying to be nice because we had to downshift so many gears here around the racetrack. And what happens is that there's a lot of danger to downshift and get the revs too high, and then it damages the engine. So I was trying to downshift very late to keep the engine safe.
All right, you kept the engine safe. What about your career? What's happening with all those negotiations for next year?
Yeah, I hope this is safe too, but we'll see. We're talking to a few teams, still talking to players, and talking to IRL, but I want to stay here. I feel like I have unfinished business, and I want to do it, so I'm pretty sure I'll be back here next year.
We hope you stay as well. Congratulations.
Thanks, huh?
Well, when Michael Andretti's crew finally got the car back to the pit area, they naturally were very curious as to what happened to the car. It ended the day.